3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to White Lions F1, and today finally I'm able to record the Russian GP race analysis. I'm sorry this is a little bit late, I just constantly kept getting delayed. Finally I'm here doing it, and I've decided, by the way, as a template for future videos, I'm not gonna do the quali analysis on its own, because it just doesn't. First of all, it doesn't get the views like it does of a race analysis, and second of all, sometimes, particularly like this week, it's not as much to talk about, and it's a little bit of a waste of a video in itself, and it's actually a lot easier to just manage by embedding it into one video, which is a race analysis. So yeah, I'm going to quickly talk about the qualifying rather first, and then we'll talk about race analysis. So as you can see now on the side of the screen, the qualifying results. Sebastian and Kimi were locked out the front row for first and second. That's the first time Ferrari have done that since about like 2007, so it's been a bloody long time since Ferrari have got that kind of dominance in qualifying. So that was a real change, and it really showed the pressure that Mercedes are finally under, even in qualifying, that they didn't even have the outright pace. As you can see, Bottas came third, Hamilton came fourth. Really disappointing for him, but he just couldn't lock it. He couldn't lock it down in qualifying. For some reason, he just couldn't manage the tyres. He couldn't get the car set up. That Mercedes does not ride the bumps nearly as well as that Ferrari does. And I think Hamilton lost in the third sector alone 5 tenths. He lost 5 tenths in the final sector alone. That's unbelievable. He was really struggling out there. He did not have a good qualifying at all. And actually, if you look at the differences, you know, Kimi and Seb were really close, and so was Valtteri. Actually, it was only about, he was just under a tenth away from Vettel. So the pace was potentially there, but just Hamilton could not do it. He couldn't manage the tyres at all. Let's go further down with Ricciardo, Massa, Verstappen, Hulkenberg, and so on. Hulkenberg, I personally think, had a pretty solid weekend and decent qualifying. So yeah, again, he's really showing what that Renault can do, and a bit like Alonso, he's kind of overdriving that Renault. So yeah, they'll be very happy with him in qualifying at least. As we go further down, it goes kind of as usual. Lance Stroll still not getting it quite together, but 12th isn't too bad for qualifying at least, but he should really be doing better, especially if Felipe Massa is all the way up in 6th. If you look down to the bottom part, you've got Palmer, Van Zorn, Wehrlein, Ericsson, Grosjean right at the bottom. You know, it just didn't work out for him. I think he might have had some engine. Actually, I think he had some problems or a breakdown or something. I can't fully remember. But yeah, he started his way down, right down at the bottom. Anyways, now there's not really too much more to say about the qualifying, so let's talk about the actual race itself. So as you can now see is the results of the Russian GP, as obviously the main thing is the fact that Valtteri Bottas finally got a race win. It's his first race win in about 80 races, something like that. So yeah, huge congratulations to him. I would say he thoroughly deserved it. Talking points of the race, first of all, Alonso, as he's one of the 4 DNFs. Yeah, he broke down before the race even started. To say that is a piss take, to say the least. I probably can't say that now I think about it, but yeah, that was a real shame for him. Although the question is raised, what's worse, breaking down before the race or right near the end of the race when you think you've pretty much made it to the finish line? I would argue the latter, but still, it's just, he must be so angry and so desperate to get into an IndyCar, and I think today, which is Wednesday, he actually got some IndyCar practice. So yeah, that's probably the only thing he's happy about right now. That Honda engine, that needs some upgrades quick. He is hating that thing. It's just so ridiculous, and I feel so bad for him. Anyway, so as you can see, Bottas first, Vettel, Raikkonen, Hamilton, so down Verstappen. The big thing at the beginning was the fact that Bottas went from 3rd to 1st in the very first corner. His getaway was lightning quick. It was unbelievable. It was so smooth, and from that moment on, he absolutely led the race. He even got away from the Ferraris, and he was managing that car so well. It was the most finish performance you could ever imagine. The moment he got himself into first place, he was so relaxed and so in control. He even had radio messages twice, I think, saying to the engineer, just don't talk, let me get in my zone, let me relax, let me do my thing. He was so in control of that car, and I think it really showed the difference between last week and this week, because he set up his car on Friday practice, not for qualifying, but for the race. Everything he did over the weekend was for Sunday, because that is when it matters. That's what he was doing on the Friday practice, and it really showed, because when it mattered in the race, he was untouchable. Hamilton, on the other hand, was pretty bad to say the least. In fact, I would say that was his worst race in a very, very long time. I'm thinking as far as Hungary, I think last year or year before, really, really poor race, but he just couldn't get anything going. Just an absolute, it was a real shame for him. Vettel and Raikkonen, I think Raikkonen actually, in fairness, had a stellar performance. I think he did as well as he could, but it just wasn't working out for him. Vettel, again, same thing, did as well as he could. Maybe he could have gone in for the pits a little bit earlier, but the question is, did Ferrari leave him out on his tyres for a little bit too long, where the pace was going away for a little bit too long before they got him in on the faster tyres? I would argue that actually didn't make too much of a difference. I think at the end of the day, Bottas was actually quicker than Vettel. I know he was catching him at the end, but hey, that's just my interpretation. So I don't think it would have made a difference in the end. But yeah, that question is there. If I go through my notes, obviously, I keep saying obviously, stop doing the hips. Anyways, on the first lap was the big crash, which was between Palmer and Grosjean. At first people were blaming Palmer, then they were blaming Grosjean, but overall, in the end rather, when it was investigated, neither parties were seen at fault. In my opinion, when I saw it over a couple of times, I did agree that it was a 50-50 racing incident. Palmer was kind of squeezed out, he had a car on his left, he had to turn in, didn't have anywhere to go. Grosjean was going for the gap, he has to go for the gap, he wasn't aware there was a car on Palmer's left, he didn't know that gap was going to close so much. It wasn't really his fault, I guess, if he backed off, but he kind of had to go for that gap. It was present when he went for it, and they had a pretty big knock. And Grosjean's car actually kind of flew a little bit, and it was pretty intense to say the least. It was pretty cool to watch. But yeah, they were both out of that race. Real shame for them. In the safety car, Lance Stroll, boy, he must be pretty annoyed. He made a couple places, and then on the safety car, he lost the places. He just spun his car, simple as that, under the safety car. And it was a real shame because it wasn't under safety car, it was just before the safety car. So he lost his places and then immediately lost the opportunity to gain those places back because the safety car then came out. So yeah, he must have been so annoyed with himself. I don't think he got hit. I think apparently he got pushed from behind, but I didn't check it back. I think he just lost control, but I may be wrong. But nonetheless, it was really unfortunate for him, and he ended up the race. He ended up finishing in 11th compared to Massa in 9th. So, that was a points lost there, in my opinion, at least. Ricciardo, he broke down as a result of brake failure. I'm pretty certain that's what happened to Verstappen last race in Bahrain. So yeah. That is something that Red Bull definitely have to look into, because that's 2 weeks in a row that's happened. Definitely an issue rising, and it seems very reminiscent of what happened with Haas. I don't know why I said it that bad, but it's reminiscent of what happened with Haas last season and during practice this season, or winter testing rather. Something that they really need to sort out, because that is a serious issue if that's happening again. At one stage, Bottas was when he came out of the pits, he got to a stage where he was about 2 seconds ahead, and he was consistently holding that. And every time Vettel gains time on him, Bottas would then counter with the fastest lap of the race or another solid lap where he just couldn't close that gap. And then as the race continued, even near the end in the closing stages of the race, when Vettel did close the gap finally down to 1 second, Bottas then put such a good lap in that Vettel then would lose time and then go back out of the DRS gap. So it's just such a wonderful controlled performance where he just was not, the sun is blinding me, where he was not phased at all by the pressure of Vettel. Vettel could do nothing about it, so hugely deserved victory by him rather. It did get a little bit tense, particularly at the end, because I can't remember how many laps were left. I think it was about 5 laps left or 6 laps or something like that. But when Bottas had his gap, actually at this stage I think it was actually about 4 seconds maybe, or 4 seconds ahead. He then had a massive lock up into a right-handed corner, and he went so far forward on this lock-up that not only did he give himself a massive flat spot that was really screwing him over, but he nearly hit the wall. It was unbelievably close to the wall, and he could have completely taken himself out. So that was probably, in my opinion, the only mistake he did in the entire race, and even then, under the pressure and with that fading tyre, he still managed it to the end. So honestly, that's pretty much all I could say really about the race, and that is a bit of a talking point about the Russian Grand Prix this year, which was apart from the massive crash at the beginning and the intensity of what was happening at the front, there wasn't really that many overtakes, and that is one issue. That this is probably the first time we've really seen that, or maybe the second time actually, now I think about it, where overtaking was a genuine issue. It wasn't an issue in terms of, oh, people couldn't get past each other. It was just the cars were so spaced out that we never saw anything that thrilling. And I think even Hamilton, I think obviously Bottas and Vettel at the end was the most exciting thing, but there was no overtake there. Hamilton at one stage, when he was trying to catch up to Raikkonen, he was doing so bad he couldn't keep up to Raikkonen, to the point that the Mercedes engineer had to say to Hamilton what was the gap to him and Verstappen behind him, and Hamilton replied, he was like, why are you telling me about Verstappen? I need to catch up to Raikkonen. To which they just said, well, not literally, but they basically said, you're not driving well enough to catch up to third, so you need to worry about the car behind you. And in the end, Verstappen wasn't quick enough to catch up to Hamilton, and it just summed up the race where we had the opportunity so many times to get maybe some exciting racing. It didn't really happen. It was a bit of a dry weekend. It was obviously thrilling. It was wonderful. It was fantastic for Bottas, but for everyone else, especially Hamilton fans, kind of dead. Not really great. But yeah, honestly, that's all there really is to say about the race. Fantastic race for Valtteri Bottas. He should be so proud of himself, and of course he is. And even his reaction, even when he was attacking himself with champagne, he still seemed kind of chill. Wonderful for him. Hopefully it's the first of many. Is he a title contender? In my opinion now, yeah, I would say yes, because Hamilton is dropping off. After Bahrain, he just wasn't the same this weekend. It was an off weekend, and Hamilton did say after Bahrain that he did feel deflated. It really reflected in his performance. Bottas now can take this momentum onto the future races, and even though the Ferrari did have the outright pace on top ahead of him, he was so quick that it just didn't matter. So that really says his potential, and he's finally starting to show it now. So it does set up the rest of the season as something that's going to be very thrilling. So yeah, that's all I can really say. I'm probably going to record my podcast that I've kept having to delay later today, I hope. If I don't, I'll probably record that in the next couple of days. But yeah, that's all I can say. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you have enjoyed this, please like this video, which is a thumbs up or one of them. Subscribe to stay tuned for more. Share this video. Comment below any sections. As I said at the beginning, I do apologise profusely for the fact that I didn't upload this earlier. It just kept getting delayed. I am using a new microphone. It's an upgrade. It's the start of a couple upgrades that I'm hoping to do. Hopefully the quality has gone up. I need to sync the audio. Hopefully there isn't delays between the video you see and the audio. But yeah, that's something I'll have to sort out in the editing. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and guys, please thumbs up, like, subscribe, share this video. You know the drill, and I'll see you guys later.